Alright, so the BFG kicks off with Sophie, this orphan girl who's straight up living that main character in a horror game life, stuck in a grim orphanage with strict rules and no fun allowed. It's late at night, aka the witching hour, and while everyone else is snoozing, Sophie's wide awake. She spots something sus outside her window. Spoiler, it's a giant. Not your average, clumsy, beanstalk kind of giant, though. This guy's got some serious stealth skills, sneaking through the village and using a long trumpet-looking thing to blow mysterious stuff into people's windows. Sophie's curiosity basically screams, "Pick me," because the giant locks eyes with her and snatches her up like she's a dropped loot box in Fortnite. Next thing you know, Sophie's being carried off at lightning speed, wrapped up like a human burrito in the giant's cloak. The dude's running so fast it's like he's got Sonic the Hedgehog mods enabled. They end up in this place called Giant Country, which is as terrifying as it sounds. Sophie's freaking out, thinking she's about to become a giant's midnight snack. I mean, can you blame her? This guy's the size of a skyscraper, and she's a literal crumb in comparison. But plot twist! This giant isn't about that life. He's actually super nice, calling himself the Big Friendly Giant, or BFG for short. Unlike the other giants in Giant Country, who are basically oversized bullies with a taste for human flesh, gross, the BFG is all about good vibes and veggie life. His diet? Snozzcumbers, which sound fancy but are actually these nasty, bitter, gross-looking vegetables. It's like eating slimy broccoli times 10. Sophie's like, yeah, hard pass, but BFG's like, hey, it's better than eating humans, right? While Sophie adjusts to her new reality, the BFG explains his job. Turns out, he's a professional dream catcher, literally. He catches dreams in this magical dream country and bottles them up, kind of like a Pokemon trainer, but with dreams instead of monsters. Then he sneaks around at night blowing good dreams into kids' heads with his dream trumpet. It's wholesome, but also a bit sus when you think about a giant creeping into your room while you sleep. Sophie's kind of amazed, though, because compared to the dumpster fire of her orphanage, this guy's got serious golden retriever energy. The vibes shift, though, when Sophie learns about the other giants. These dudes have names like Flesh Lumpeater and Bone Cruncher, and they're not just about big talk, they actually roam the world eating humans like they're snacks. It's horrifying, but also kind of like that feeling when you wander into the wrong part of a dungeon in Elden Ring and a boss you're not ready for stomps you into oblivion. The BFG hates the other giants, but he's too chill and too small for a giant to fight them off. Sophie's like, why isn't anyone stopping these cannibal giants? But the BFG's all, humans are too busy fighting each other to notice. The BFG keeps things light by showing Sophie his world, and honestly, it's wild. Dream Country is straight out of a Studio Ghibli movie, sparkling, colorful, and full of weird, floaty vibes. Sophie's loving it, but she's also low-key scheming. She can't stand the idea of those other giants munching on innocent people like they're fries, so she's like, yo, BFG, we have to do something about this. The BFG is hesitant at first, mostly because he's used to laying low and not rocking the boat. But Sophie's got that fiery determination that only a fearless orphan can bring. By the time Chapter 7 wraps up, Sophie and the BFG are starting to form this awesome duo. He's got the brains, the dream-catching skills, and, you know, the giant thing going for him, while Sophie's the fearless strategist who's ready to throw hands, metaphorically, because she's tiny. Together, they're cooking up a plan that could change the giant-human dynamic for good. It's like the setup for the ultimate underdog and undergiant team up, and you just know things are about to get even crazier. Alright, let's get into chapters 8 through 12 of the BFG, where things get even weirder, funnier, and straight up more epic. Sophie's chilling in Giant Country with the BFG, and at this point, she's realizing that this dude is like the lovable but slightly chaotic uncle you didn't know you needed. He's got big heart vibes, but also some quirks that'll make you side-eye him for a second, like his love for Snozzcumbers and that unholy fizzy drink called Frobscottle. Spoiler, it's the opposite of classy. Sophie's already learned about the BFG's dream-catching hustle, but now he's taking her deeper into the giant drama. The other giants? Absolute menaces. We're talking straight-up monsters with names that sound like bad gaming usernames, Flesh Lumpeater, Gizzard Gulper, and Blood Bottler. These dudes are out every night wreaking havoc and treating humans like they're appetizers at an all-you-can-eat buffet. What's wild is that they don't even discriminate, they'll eat anyone, anywhere. It's like if you turned a bunch of Fortnite sweats into actual, flesh-eating villains. Now, Sophie's not the type to sit around while chaos happens. She's out here grilling the BFG like, why are we stopping these fools? And the BFG, being his shy and gentle self, is all, I'm too little, and humans don't care. But Sophie's not buying the excuses. She's like, bro, you're a giant. We can figure this out. You've got skills, and I've got ideas. It's giving serious underdog team ready to take on the world energy. In the middle of all this, the Blood Bottler shows up at the BFG's cave, and things get tense. Imagine you're Sophie, chilling in a cave, when suddenly a literal human-eating giant barges in, sniffing around like, I smell snacks. Sophie has to think fast. She dives into the BFG's gross Snozzcumber stash to hide, and honestly? It's giving serious hide-and-seek boss battle vibes. Blood Bottler is rummaging around, throwing stuff everywhere, but Sophie stays cool under pressure. The BFG does his best to act casual, like, what snacks? I'm all about Snozzcumbers, my guy. Eventually, Blood Bottler gives up and bounces, and Sophie comes out like, well, that was terrifying. We need to step up our game. And then, Frobscottle enters the chat. This drink is wild. It's bubbly, green, and the bubbles go down instead of up. When you drink it, instead of burping like a regular soda, it makes you fart, aka whiz popping. The BFG's hyped about it, calling it the best thing ever, but Sophie's just sitting there, probably wondering how her life spiraled into fart physics. When the BFG lets one rip, it's like a fireworks display, loud and dramatic. Sophie can't help but laugh because, honestly, how do you not? Whiz popping becomes their little inside joke, showing how much Sophie and the BFG are starting to bond, despite the chaos around them. Meanwhile, Sophie's still laser-focused on fixing the whole giants eating humans thing. She convinces the BFG that they need to take action, and they brainstorm a wild plan. The BFG's dream-catching skills are key to this whole scheme. He's got this insane collection of dreams stored in jars, each labeled with trippy descriptions. Sophie's like, what if we mix up a mega dream, like some kind of sleep potion combo, and use it to convince the human leaders to help us take down the giants? It's genius, and the BFG's into it. The best part of these chapters is how Sophie and the BFG's friendship evolves. At first, Sophie's skeptical of him, and the BFG's used to living solo, keeping his head down to avoid trouble. But now? They're this dynamic duo, hyping each other up and building trust. Sophie sees the BFG's kindness and bravery, even if he doesn't realize it himself, and the BFG admires Sophie's courage and cleverness. It's like watching two unlikely heroes team up in a buddy cop movie, and you can't help but root for them. By the end of chapter 12, you're totally hooked. Sophie and the BFG are gearing up for their mission, ready to take on both the human world and the nightmare giants. It's this perfect mix of humor, heart, and that underdog energy that makes you want to see them win. And with the way these two are plotting, you just know something epic, and maybe chaotic, is about to go down. Buckle up, because things are about to get even crazier. Alright, here's the tea on chapters 13 to 15 of the BFG, where things go from quirky to straight-up royal-level epic. Sophie and the BFG are cooking up the ultimate plan to stop those human-chomping giants, and let's just say their brainstorming session is peak chaotic brilliance. Sophie's like, okay, here's the move, we'll whip up a dream so wild it makes people listen. Like, not just any dream, a nightmare-level plot twist that'll make the Queen of England wake up ready to squad up and take action. Bold, right? But Sophie's got that fearless energy, and the BFG? Well, he's got jars of dreams and a giant-sized heart, so they're going for it. The BFG gets to work in his dream lab, which is basically the DIY headquarters for all things magical and slightly unhinged. He's got jars of dreams everywhere, labeled with descriptions like, kid scores a billion goals in soccer or man wins the lottery, but it's all bananas. It's chaotic, but kinda genius. Together, they start mixing and matching dreams like they're creating a potion in The Legend of Zelda, trying to make the ultimate combo. Sophie's throwing out ideas while the BFG's all like, careful, tiny human, this is delicate business. Eventually, they come up with the dream recipe that's gonna slap so hard, it'll have the Queen calling a press conference. Here's the dream plan, they'll sneak into the Queen's palace and give her a dream about the human-eating giants, complete with Sophie herself making a cameo. It's gonna feel so real that the Queen won't have a choice but to take them seriously. And if you're wondering how they're even getting close to the Queen, the BFG's got it covered. This dude is sneaky. Remember his stealth mode when he snatched Sophie? Same vibes. Sophie's hyped but nervous because, you know, sneaking into Buckingham Palace isn't exactly on her usual to-do list. Fast forward to the mission, and it's basically a heist movie but with more whimsy and less crime. The BFG scoops Sophie up and heads to London at top speed. The way he moves? Think Attack on Titan minus the chaos, with him leaping over buildings and dodging streetlights like a pro. They finally get to the palace, and the BFG's like, time to do my thing. He climbs up to the Queen's window with Sophie in his pocket, pulls out his dream trumpet, and softly blows the custom nightmare straight into her royal noggin. It's so precise, it's giving Sniper Elite vibes, but wholesome. The dream hits the Queen hard, and she wakes up totally freaked out, but also like, wait, this feels too real to be fake. The best part? Sophie's sitting on the windowsill when the Queen wakes up, casually chilling like, sup, your majesty? Glad you could join us. The Queen doesn't scream or freak out because Sophie's whole vibe is so polite and respectful, but also kinda confident that it's impossible not to trust her. Plus, she's got the BFG backing her up, and he's all awkward and adorable, bowing and talking in his weird, lovable way. Sophie explains everything, the giants, the danger, the plan to stop them. She's dropping facts and bringing that convincing main character energy. The Queen's sitting there processing like, okay, so a giant and a tiny girl just broke into my palace, but I'm not mad because this all checks out somehow. The Queen's attendants come in, and instead of panicking, they're all super polite because Sophie and the BFG are that charming. The Queen? She's already on board. She's like, call the generals. We're about to take these giants down. And that's where these chapters leave us. Sophie and the BFG are no longer just a quirky duo on a personal mission. They've leveled up big time, convincing literal royalty to join their cause. It's like the Avengers assembling, but instead of superheroes, it's a giant, a kid, and some soldiers about to wreck the day for some not-so-friendly giants. Stay tuned, because you know it's about to get legendary. Alright, so chapters 16 to 19 of the BFG are where things go from giant fairy tale to full-on epic boss raid. Sophie and the BFG have officially teamed up with the Queen, and the whole vibe is giving unlikely hero squad preps for the final battle. Let's dive in. The queen, who's an absolute legend, doesn't waste any time once Sophie and the BFG spills the tea about the man-eating giants. She's like, alright, let's handle this, and calls up her top generals and the head of the Air Force. These guys roll up in their full military drip, ready to hear the plan. At first, they're all skeptical, like, wait, are we seriously talking about capturing giants right now? But Sophie, ever the MVP, lays out the facts with the calm confidence of someone who's already been through too much weirdness to be fazed. The BFG adds his 2 cents in his funky, jumbled-up English, and somehow it works. The queen's like, gentlemen, this is happening. Prep the choppers. But first, breakfast. And let me tell you, this breakfast scene is straight-up comedy gold. The palace staff is scrambling to feed the BFG, and it's like trying to serve a full-course meal to a kaiju. They bring out literal trucks of food, including 24 fried eggs, a dozen loaves of bread, and an ocean of coffee, and the BFG downs it like he's Kirby inhaling power-ups. Watching him chug coffee from a barrel? Iconic. Sophie, meanwhile, is living her best life, getting treated like royalty herself. You can just imagine her thinking, so this is what it's like to be a big deal. After the feast, it's go time. The plan is brilliantly simple but also totally nuts. Helicopters will swoop into giant country with nets, snag the giants while they're sleeping, and haul them back to England. The BFG's job? Guide the military to the exact spot where the giants are passed out, snoring away like a bunch of overgrown toddlers after a tantrum. Sophie, being the brave little powerhouse she is, insists on going along, even though it's clearly dangerous. She's like, I've come this far, I'm seeing this through. The flight to giant country is all suspense and hype. The BFG's leading the way, running ahead like the ultimate scout, while Sophie and the military follow in helicopters. The tension is real because, let's face it, if any of those giants wake up mid-mission, it's game over. When they get there, the giants are sprawled out in their usual chaos, arms and legs everywhere, mouths open wide, and probably drooling like it's nap time at a daycare for monsters. Now, here's where things get wild. The military moves in, and it's like the most epic capture the flag match ever. They've got these massive steel nets, and they're dropping them over the sleeping giants one by one. It's all going smoothly until Fleshlumpeter, the biggest, meanest, most terrifying giant of the bunch, starts stirring. This dude's like the final boss in a video game, and if he wakes up fully, it's going to be a disaster. Sophie, in a total anime protagonist moment, steps up and helps the BFG calm the situation. With some quick thinking and a whole lot of luck, they manage to get Fleshlumpeter tied up, and the mission is back on track. Once all the giants are captured, the helicopters lift them into the air, and it's a bizarre sight, giants dangling in nets, being flown off to their new home. And where are they taking them, you ask? To a massive pit that the queen had specially prepared. It's basically a giant-proof prison where they'll be kept for the rest of their lives. The pit is deep, secure, and stocked with endless Snozzcumbers, which is the ultimate punishment for these giants since they absolutely hate the stuff. It's the perfect mix of justice and poetic irony. When they finally return to England, the heroes, Sophie and the BFG, are treated like total rock stars. The queen throws a celebration, and everyone's thanking them for saving countless lives. The BFG, who's spent his whole life being overlooked and underestimated, is finally getting the recognition he deserves. Sophie's right there by his side, beaming with pride because she knows she helped make it all happen. By the end of chapter 19, you're feeling all the feels. The giants are dealt with, Sophie and the BFG are heroes, and it's clear that their bond is unshakable. They've gone from two misfits who found each other to a powerhouse team that took on the odds and came out on top. It's the kind of ending that makes you want to cheer, laugh, and maybe even shed a tear. What started as a quirky adventure is now a full-blown legend, and you can't help but love every second of it. Alright, fam, buckle up because I'm about to break down the last few chapters of the BFG like it's a Netflix binge-worthy recap. We're talking about chapters 20 to 24 here, where things go from wild to absolutely bananas, and Sophie and the BFG prove they're the real MVPs of giant busting. So, here's the sitch, Sophie and the BFG are ready to level up their game plan. They're taking their genius, Attack on Titan-style plot to the Queen of England herself. Yup, no half measures here. Sophie's got that big main character energy, and she's like, let's bring in the boss lady. The BFG, low-key nervous because he's still trying to figure out this whole human interaction thing, agrees, and they're off to Buckingham Palace. Now, picture this, it's early morning, and Sophie is chilling in the BFG's massive hand like a total queen herself. They roll up to the queen's crib, and Sophie's all, yo, let's make an entrance. So, the BFG straight up plunks her on the queen's windowsill while she's snoozing. Casual. Then, Sophie whispers her epic monologue about bloodthirsty giants to the queen like she's pitching the next big superhero movie. She even throws in the deets about her and the BFG's dream-catching hustle. And the BFG? He's standing there awkwardly in the garden like the world's tallest socially anxious gamer at a party, holding his dream jar. When the queen wakes up, she's shook. I mean, wouldn't you be if you woke up to a tiny kid and a giant tagging along like you're about to squad up in Fortnite? But Sophie's explanation is so smooth, it's like she rolled a natural 20 on her persuasion check. The queen listens, and, plot twist, she realizes she had a dream exactly like the one Sophie's describing. She's like, alright, I'm in. You gotta respect how chill this monarch is about teaming up with a literal giant to stop other giants from munching on her citizens. Big queen energy right there. Cue breakfast, and oh my gosh, this part is straight out of a comedy anime. The queen invites Sophie and the BFG to dine with her, but the palace staff is in full panic mode because, giants aren't exactly on the guest list. They whip up this ginormous table, giant forks, and the fanciest food spread you can imagine. The BFG, being the absolute mad lad he is, goes ham on his new fave drink, Frobscoddle. Remember that fizzy green stuff that makes you fart instead of burp? Yeah, he lets it rip at the royal table. We're talking next level whiz poppers, blasting like he's got a rocket launcher from Call of Duty. Sophie is mortified, but the queen? She's laughing like it's the funniest thing since TikTok pranks. Once breakfast wraps up, it's go time. The queen calls in her military squad, and I'm talking full-on Call of Duty, Black Ops vibes. Helicopters, soldiers, the works. She's like, alright, we're about to roll out, and the BFG becomes their unofficial tour guide. He's giving them the lowdown on where the nasty giants are chilling. Sophie's riding shotgun with him, looking like the coolest strategist ever, and the BFG is holding back his nerves because he knows one wrong move could mean game over. Now, the giants? They're passed out in the wasteland like they've been grinding XP all night. These dudes are massive, nasty, and smell like they haven't discovered deodorant. The soldiers, being the pros they are, swoop in with their choppers and ropes, lassoing these sleeping beasts like they're in some twisted rodeo. One by one, the giants are hogtied and hauled off to captivity. But there's one hiccup, the flesh lump eater. This guy wakes up mid-mission, and he's raging harder than a League of Legends player on a losing streak. For a hot second, it's looking dicey, but Sophie, quick-thinking hero that she is, uses the BFG's dream jar to knock him out. Big brain moves right there. Once the giants are securely locked up, the queen arranges for a special pit to be built for them, complete with a lifetime supply of Snozzcumbers. If you don't remember, Snozzcumbers are basically the grossest veggies ever invented. It's karma in edible form, and the giants are not thrilled. They're going to spend eternity munching on those while the rest of the world sleeps safe at night. GG, giants. As for our dynamic duo, the queen makes sure they're living their best lives. Sophie moves into the palace, finally getting the cozy, danger-free life she deserves. Meanwhile, the BFG gets his own pad nearby and spends his days writing down all his wild tales. Yup, he becomes an author, sharing his epic life story. Imagine him at a book signing, towering over the crowd, probably still sipping Frobscoddle. And that's how Sophie and the BFG went from underdogs to absolute legends. They saved the world, proved dreams can beat nightmares, and reminded everyone that even the smallest, or biggest, among us can make a difference. It's like the ultimate team-up movie, with heart, humor, and a solid dose of giant farts. Total win, right?